All right, welcome back to this Tinkercad tutorial. Today, instead of talking about shape, size, and text, we're actually going to be talking about holes and grouping. Okay, now this is actually going to become very important when you're trying to make something that actually is going to have a specific shape, but that shape is actually in the shape of a hole. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. To kind of start off here, we're going to go back to our basic shapes. Okay, and I'm going to go to my box. Okay, box is very general. We'll click it here. We'll drag it and drop it to this work plane. All right, so now what I would like to do is I'm actually going to, let's actually increase this size a little bit. Let's just go to 30 millimeters. There we go. All right, and then I also want to make this just a little bit wider, a little bit longer. Okay, so I'm going to put this at, let's see here, 20 millimeters. There we go. All right, so you can see now that that is a little bit different than this box that we've seen over here. We've been able to change that shape, change that size. All right, so here's what we'd like to do. Okay, we want to actually create a hole within this specific shape. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this cylinder for the first example. Okay, and I would like to just make like this little tiny like half circle here inside of this block here. Okay, now first what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drag this and I want to make it the same length, there we go, or I'm sorry, the same height as this box. Okay, so now we can see from this angle here, we're right-clicking, dragging around. We can see then that it is the same height. Okay, now you can actually keep the height basically at whatever you like. For this specific tutorial, I want to keep it right about there at 30. All right, so we talked about how important it is to group certain items, and this tutorial is going to kind of go through why that's so important. Okay, so let's just kind of picture this here. Let's look at here from the top. What I would like to do is I would like to create this box here. I want to have like a little hole. Okay, this little indent right here. I want to make a little indent into this box here, so that way I have a little space here that is actually empty. Okay, now I wouldn't have been able to do that originally with just this box, but with this cylinder, what I can do is I can actually kind of make this little indent here. So here's what I'm going to do. Whenever you click on a specific item, you see this little property box pop up. Remember, we've talked about how you can click on the solid, you can change this shape to, let's just say, maybe maroon. We can change this shape color to, let's just say, gold, so we're now doing tiger colors. Okay, so now what I would like to do, remember, I want to create this little indent. Okay, so I've now selected my cylinder. I've changed it to a solid color, but now here's the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to create a hole. Okay, so now we have this option here for it to be created into a hole. So let's click on this hole thing right here. Perfect. So now what you can see is that this cylinder has now become a little bit more transparent. Okay, so it's become transparent, but if I still deselect it and I kind of look around, I see that it's trying to make an indent, but it has not quite done so yet. Okay, so I can still see that there's still some area that's left here. So let's actually figure out how we're going to end up finishing creating this hole. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to left click and I'm going to drag and I'm going to select all of these items. Okay, and remember I talked about how the grouping item is going to become very, very important, and this is where it becomes very important. Okay, I'm going to click this group item, and here's where you actually see that hole has been created. Okay, so I'm going to look at it from the top. You don't see that cylinder anymore because it has actually been creating a hole. Okay, so you kind of see it's almost looking like a bridge at this point in time. Okay, and I have created that hole. Let's look at it from the bottom as well. Okay, you can see then after I've grouped them together, that's how we end up doing it. Okay, so let's kind of talk one more time. Let's kind of use another example here. Let's do a cone here. Okay, now I want my cone to actually create a hole in this section right here. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do is you can kind of see that this cone is much shorter than this box. Now if I drag this in here, I'm going to lose it. Okay, you don't see that cone here anymore. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to create that hole inside this rectangle. I'm going to drag this and I'm going to make this slightly bigger, so that way when I do end up trying to create a hole here within this box, then I'm actually seeing where this hole is going to be. Okay, so I put this this cone inside of my rectangle. I click hole. Okay, and don't forget this very last step where we select everything and we group it. Okay, so we see that little hole right there. What's going to be kind of cool is this hole size on this side is going to be a little bit different than from the bottom side. So when I right click and drag, you're going to see that the hole is much, much bigger on the very, very bottom. Okay, as in comparison then to the top. Okay, so that's some perspective that you kind of want to keep in mind. If some of you are looking at this and you don't want this hole to be small, but you want it to be as big as the bottom, then you probably want to change the shape of choice. Okay, you maybe want to use an actual cylinder like we had for this first hole, rather than a cone that's going to have different shapes and sizes on each of them. Okay, so kind of keep that perspective in play. Make sure that you're right clicking and you're dragging around, and make sure you see it from all of these different angles so you understand what this is really going to look like when you 3D print it. Alright, that is it for our tutorial on creating holes and grouping things together. I hope you join me for our last tutorial in the next section. We were actually going to create a name tag. I hope to see you soon.